Today's sermon is about two questions. Where are you going? And were you invited? And obviously, in general, it's in reference to the moment we're living in, but it also speaks more deeply to the sense of ourselves and obligations and responsibilities and who we are in the world. And I want to begin, as I often do, with an update about the state of our community and synagogue. We are okay. I'm grateful to those who have made phone calls to everybody on my behalf. I keep asking how everyone is, and I really appreciate the feedback. It's important to me to know that you're okay, and if you're not, we're going to help you. You've noticed that we've asked for membership renewal this year, and it's different than other years. We're not really asking. What we're saying is, you're coming back. All you have to do is let us know you're coming back, and you're coming back. We hope that many of you are in good shape and you can afford it, and that will support our congregation, not just the building, but the people. And it will support us down the road for many years to come, because this is going to go, and then we'll be back to regular shul, and we want to stay strong and healthy and vibrant. And those of you who are not in a position to afford it, you're still coming back, because we need you. Losing someone at this point now would really hurt just the congregation, the sense of loss, when we hardly have any connection, would be really hard, because I can tell you the corollary is that when someone does join us that is new, it feels so good right now. Well, please don't be shy. Send us your renewal, and hopefully you too will feel the sense of renewal. It's a commitment to the future. You're saying, I'm committed to moving forward. I'm not just thinking day to day anymore. I'm thinking about September, October, the longevity of my commitment and my community. And if you can't afford it, we have a dignity fund, which I'm so pleased to tell you is growing every week through the generosity of individuals in our congregation who have the blessing and ability to do that. And their families are true examples of commitment, because they don't have to do it, but they want to. And they want to do it not for me or for the building. They want to do it for you. So each and every one of you can be with us. Whatever with us means this year, which in fact is the most challenging question to answer right now. What will it actually look like? Made all more complicated by yesterday's proclamation by the President of the United States that synagogues, churches, and houses of worship are essential services. That is not the case here. There's no scientific or health evidence that suggests that's a good idea. I can't speak to what's going on in the United States because it's not my area. I don't know anything about it. I know what I've been told by health professionals, and that is where my information comes from. It does not come from the news, nor does it come from politicians who are, informed by perhaps science or perhaps their own internal instincts. This is not a moment for instinct, it's a moment for science, and even if we get it wrong on the side of caution, it's far better. So to the question, is Beth Torah now an essential service because the President of the United States said it is in the United States? No. Are there many Beth Torahs in the United States? Beth Torah is probably the most popular name of synagogues anywhere, but anything with a Beth is probably a synagogue, except for Beth Midler. So you need to know that right now nothing has changed, and the likelihood of us being able to have a significant gathering in this sanctuary is remote. We do not know whether there'll be any gathering, but I do know that the same way I'm speaking to you right now, and I'm talking to you directly, I'm not looking there, I'm not busy facing that way, I'm talking to you. We will have high holiday services that will speak to you, whether it be through music or words or performance, whatever high holidays need to be so we can speak directly, that's what we're going to do. We're not doing the wide shot where you'll see the whole empty sanctuary and one or two or one person or whatever and call that a high holidays. It's going to be close, up, personal, intimate, direct, and about you. And it's about the meaningful things we've come to expect on high holidays. And it's for 1 year. And we'll be back in here more enthused and more rejuvenated and with a greater understanding of how to reach out to those beyond our sanctuary and make it relevant and meaningful for those who can't attend. Just like we did when we started the live streaming, because unfortunately our friend Marty Glick couldn't come on high holidays, and he sponsored the live stream, and we brought it into his living room. And we brought it into the living room of many people who were unable to attend. And we realized then the power of the intimate shul experience. We're going to recreate that on the high holidays. So be assured that a vote for your future called membership renewal is not just about the experience this year, it's also about perpetuating your own self-optimism, in which you are saying, my glass is neither half full nor half empty, because I have the power to refill it myself. And this is one way you can do it. And if you do need help, let me know. I will take care of it. I guarantee it will be with dignity. The worry that we have is that the border will open in a month, possibly, and members of the Jewish community will come from states that have been hardest hit, which is very likely. A lot of Toronto Jews have connections in the East Coast, a significant amount. New Jersey, New York, places that have been extremely hard hit. Connections everywhere, the West Coast as well, and so on, but a lot from the East Coast. And it's a major concern, because if the rules are different in two different countries and travel is allowed, it could pose a major health risk in communities that are insular or small or in tight-knit groups. And if you want to know what it looks like when a synagogue reopens, you just have to look at what happened in Italy. In Italy, when they reopened the synagogue, first thing they had to do was decide how many people could actually attend, which wasn't many. The second thing they had to do was they had to figure out, how do we give out prayer books and shawls and kippot and scarves when the books themselves might be used by more than one person. So they had to sanitize everything and hermetically seal little packages in which you came to shul and you opened it up and out came a cleaned tallis, a cleaned kippah, a cleaned shawl, some Kleenex, maybe a mask, and a prayer book. And then at the end of services, they gathered them all up and they had to be sanitized and cleaned again, and this is what went on. But approximately a quarter of their membership were allowed to participate. And you can imagine that it becomes complicated. We started to think about all the issues around reopening. How do we make sure that people in the washroom, when they go in and out, aren't bumping up against each other? The answer is they'll have to wait. It's not so easy to wait all the time. Washroom has to be sanitized between each person. Washrooms that have more than one stall, that means you have to do the whole thing each time. How do we deal with prayer books? How do we deal with prayer shawls? How do we deal with kippot? How do we deal with parking? Every other space, perhaps, not every space. That cuts into our already limited parking. How do we deal with seating? Families would all have to come at the exact same time. You cannot come later. You have to come and stay in your seat. You can't leave the sanctuary without asking for permission, because someone else might be coming in a wheelchair perhaps. You never know. You can't have traffic jams. That proximity is no good. Shofar blower has to be at a huge distance because they actually are amplifying what comes out of their mouth. Singing. When you sing, It's different than just walking past someone on the street. Your choir has to be spread out a vast distance because they're projecting. They can't sing through masks. What happens on the bima? The Torah doesn't go around. The gabbais can't touch the Torah, or the Torah reader can't touch it. It's gloves, masks. Like I said in my video, this is Nishkan Yontif, this is not celebratory. Well, we'll figure it out, and time will tell. And hopefully the pandemic lessons, and we'll wait for the scientific guidance, we'll wait for the authorities in this province and this city and this country to tell us what to do. Because even though I've heard, shockingly, a lot of people who will say things like, the whole thing is a hoax. The whole thing. It's a conspiracy. They've watched their stupid YouTube videos, and now they think they know the truth. I was actually at a funeral waiting for the burial, and I had to wait outside the gates because they only open it moments before. And a driver in a truck pulls up, and we start talking about it. And he tells me that the entire pandemic is a hoax. He watched a video, and it told him that it's a hoax. So I said to him, I don't know if you're right or wrong, but if you want, I'm sure the guys that are doing the burials here will happily have you help do the burials, because it's an obligation under Jewish law. And if you want, they have more COVID burials this month than they expected. Their numbers are up. I'm sure you could help. Well, I think a lot of it is just theoretical, because the moment COVID strikes, or the moment or the moment it affects you directly, it's not a conspiracy anymore. So I don't really care for conspiracy theorists. I don't care for them because everything they talk about cannot be proven or disproven. It's easy to make stuff up. It's easy to link human nature with science and create conspiracy. But we're not doing that. Once again, I urge you that when I start talking about Jewish stuff, like Torah and Talmud, don't go away, because I'm only talking about it so we can get back to where we want to go. And I only look at the traditional to understand how it is still relevant, which always surprises me how relevant it is. So let's talk about some Talmudic terms. There is something called Yoma Arichta. Now, a Yoma Arichta means, Yoma from the word Yom in Aramaic means Yoma, a day. Arichta, like in Hebrew, Aruch, long. When the rabbis looked at the Jewish holidays, they said, is Rosh Hashanah 2 days? Are those 2 separate days? Are they 2 separate festivals? Like day 1, its own thing. Day 2, its own thing. Or are they just one thing and a continuation of the thing? And that has implications for whether we say Shechayanu both days, the prayers, various things. But part of their analysis was that no, Rosh Hashanah is Yoma Arichta. It's a long day. It's just a longer day. It's not 2 days, it's a long day. And every time I keep thinking about what day it is and how long we've been doing this, I keep thinking to myself, it's a Yoma Arichta. It's just a day. It's like Groundhog Day, but it's not separate days anymore. It's just one long day, and in the long day, we sleep, we eat, we exercise, we get up, we work, but it's just a long day. It's like we are living in the Arctic, and it's sunny all the time, or dark all the time, depends on how you feel. But either way, you still have to do 12 hours, 8 hours of sleep, then you have to get up, and you have to do it all either in the dark or in the light. The day and the night and the time around us are no longer relevant. We are just living Yoma Arichta, one very long day. And one day, the sun will set or rise on this period in time, and we'll go back to having one day at a time. But like Rosh Hashanah, it's just super long. It's an extra long day. Which gets me to the next concept called Yoma Tava L'Rabbanan. There's various times in the Talmud where somebody would say, if such and such would happen, I would make Yoma Tava L'Rabbanan, I would make a good day for the rabbis. I would make a good day for the rabbis, said Rabbi Yossi. When I hit my 60th birthday, he said in the Talmud, I made a celebration for my colleagues. Others have circumstances. If I win this argument, I will make a good day. If such and such happens, have a celebration. That's what Yoma Tava L'Rabbanan. They both use the word Yoma Arichta, the long day, Yoma Tava, a good day. Obviously, we hope we get to the good day. But the reason I want to talk about Yoma Tava L'Rabbanan, a good day for the rabbis, is because sometimes it's not a good day for the rabbis. And I don't mean the pressure and the stress, and believe me, I've had times where I just feel like I'm going to cry, and it's not because I'm depressed, it's because I'm overwhelmed. Emotionally, it's too much to process. And sometimes when I choose music for the services, I'm listening to this music, and I'm just crying because the music speaks to me. The words are so powerful, and they're so relevant. And last night when we had our Year of Living Jewishly graduation by Zoom, I wasn't expecting to, but the first thing when we had everybody log in last night, there must have been almost a couple hundred people. Believe it or not, we had probably close to 200 people in our Zoom call. And that included parents, grandparents, children, siblings, maybe even more. Don't really know. The first thing I said when I looked at all the Zoom screens, I said, I really miss you all. And I began to cry. It's hard because you take an interest in these children's lives, and you meet them when they're young, and you get to know them in advance, and then they come to you and they spend a whole year in Year of Living Jewishly. And you get to watch them grow, and they don't realize how much they're growing, but they are. And they're very special. And then we get to spend time here on the Bima. That's the way life normally is. And Samantha, for example, today, I adore her. And I've got to watch her. It's not like I just decided, oh, she's a bat mitzvah, I'm going to like her. I really do. I've watched her essence. I've watched how she is transmitted to by her parents, by her environment, the choices they've made. I watch how she's grown. And I know that she'll be okay with what happened today. But I also know that I feel the same way. I feel the same loss and pressure and hurt and sadness that everyone else does. But that's not why I'm talking about a good day for the rabbis or a bad day for the rabbis. The bad day for the rabbis I'm talking about is more abstract. It's about a good day for religion or a bad day for religion. And I've spoken before about religious leaders doing bad things, mostly to their congregants and people who rely on them. And I have to say that as time's gone on, I think you all have watched congregations make their own choices, and that is the prerogative of every congregation and every rabbi. A rabbi is de facto mara de atra, which means the teacher or the leader of the place, which means that at the end, the rabbi has to be deferred to with regards to their rulings on religious matters. You cannot have a board make decisions about religion when you've hired a rabbi. If you don't like your rabbi, hire someone else. But if you like them, the condition has to be a certain freedom of the pulpit. So when rabbis decided to Zoom or not to Zoom, or to broadcast or not, or to do live or to do recorded, that's all their choice. That is not what we're talking about. Those are rabbis who care. They're trying to care within the framework of their community. Rabbis told their people to stay home and are Orthodox and have no Zoom or no connection. That's them caring. Rabbis who have said you can have backyard minyan, which means you're all spread out, that's them caring as well. There is no measurement of what is the right kind of caring. Every community decides for itself. And on high holidays, every community is going to decide whether they want to do parking lot synagogue, whether they want to do spread out synagogue, they want to do outdoor synagogue. I don't know what people will do. But everyone decides for themselves. But I'm talking about the leadership that is either bad for their people or good for their people. And I have two examples I want to share with you. Somebody that I know since I was a kid, way back in the day, and I won't mention by name because it's just Lashon Hara, it's just speaking poorly about someone who deserves to be called out, but it's not important who. He is the Rosh HaYeshiva, the head of a high school and advanced learning institute for Orthodox young men in Israel. And Israel, as you know, has come out of lockdown, and they've kind of gone back to normal, and there's hot spots that they keep tamping down. This school opened, a teacher had COVID, boom, they're closed. This one, somebody was fat, close the store, so on. That's what's happening there. Well, his yeshiva was closed. And what they did was they came up with this great idea. The yeshiva kids would live in their little cells. Each group, each circle would be separate from everyone else. So you'd have a group of 15 or 20 or whatever it was, or 10, and they would only associate with each other. And if one pod went down, so to speak, the rest of the yeshiva didn't go down, and that's what they did for quite a while. And then when restrictions came off, of course, they can reemerge and become one. And the day they became one, the rabbi, sickeningly, in my opinion, and gleefully, and trying to use the immature power of leadership. And I know this firsthand because I lived in that environment. There are some rabbis who do this and some who don't, and he did. He announced the day that they were allowed to reopen fully. Here's what he said. On the day the yeshiva reopened, the pandemic stopped. A perversion of truth and a perversion of power. Because young people believe that. Well, I never did. That's why I'm not in yeshiva anymore. But that kind of perverse power and joy and glee to say that we are open because we stopped the pandemic. By opening, we stopped it. And the answer is, no, Rabbi so-and-so. The pandemic stopped so you could open. Don't remake science or history. It's ugly. That is not a good day for the rabbis. He wasn't the only one that spoke that way. But that is how you self-soothe in a community that betrayed its members initially. And they demanded that schools and synagogues and mikvahs and organizations stay open just long enough to ensure that their community would be the hardest hit. Not everyone. Some. But at least when it is over, have the respect for the people around you not to be triumphal and suggest that your religious values stopped the plague. It's ugly. And here is a good day for religion. A really good day. I found it incredibly touching. And the story comes from a local doctor who's a Sikh, or a Sikh. And his name is Dr. Sanjit Singh Saluja. Dr. Sanjit Singh Saluja is a practicing devout Sikh. And if you know one thing about Sikhs, hair is important. They wear a turban to cover their hair, which they believe is a sign of great sanctity. They won't walk around without a turban. They fought for the right to be a police officer and wear a turban, even if it means not wearing a helmet. Same thing with motorcycles. A religious exemption. But their beards are sacred too, just like for a Hasidic Jew. Who could ever forget the image of the Hasidic Jew having his beard cut off by the Nazis who were laughing because the tzura of a Yid, the image of a Jew, was being desecrated? And here, Dr. Singh Saluja finds himself in a quandary in which he can no longer practice in his emergency department because he cannot adequately protect his face or his mouth because the beard interferes. And he could have easily said, guys, reassign me. I'll do something else. I'll do paperwork from home. I'll do charts. Instead, he shaved his beard. It's an odd thing to see a Sikh shaved. If you're wearing a turban, you probably have a beard. It's odd. It would be odd to see a Hasidic Jew wearing the full Hasidic fur hat shaved. It's very rare. It would be an extraordinary circumstance. This is a Yom Tova l'Rabbanan, a good day for religion. When someone says, my values and my religion have to match at a time of crisis. They don't always have to match, but at a time of crisis they do. In Judaism, we have a concept called Yaharog va'al Ya'avor. Better to be killed than to transgress. And primarily it's matters of great public desecration like idolatry and sexual matters. That which will publicly betray your people. And we are talking today about Ya'avor va'al Yehareg. Ya'avor va'al Yehareg means transgress and don't kill, or don't be killed. In this case, it's transgress so you can help others not die. It's an extraordinary story. It's worth noting when someone has a Yom Tova l'Rabbanan, a good day for religion. Now, I want to speak out of sequence because, as you know, Purim was the holiday that came just before COVID-19. It was the holiday that divided people in terms of their communal health. Those communities that had Purim celebrations were the ones that had the bigger outbreaks because they had been together during the incubation period. In the case of Beth Torah, we actually, for some calendar reason, celebrated our Purim party a full week in advance of Purim. And it was fortunate because the following weekend there was Purim and then there was lockdown. And many communities, while they were aware of it, chose to ignore it or weren't fully aware of it and therefore didn't worry about it. But the festival of Purim is where I want to go, which is going a little bit back in time, but going way back into the great, great stories of Jewish life, which really are the future. In the story of Purim, we come across one of the most dramatic moments in any book, in any telling of any story. And just be aware, the book of Esther is not a religious document. There is no God. The word God does not appear once. There is no evident religion other than the idea of fasting and praying to a greater power. But otherwise, there is nothing fundamentally religious about it. It is a story of people behaving well and behaving badly. But there's no question that the hero of the story is Queen Esther. Without going into a lot of detail about Queen Esther, who you can research all you want, There's lots of information. You'll find a lot of stories about Esther. Some will try to turn her into some religious princess, and others will speak honestly about the fact that she was fully immersed in Persian culture, and she stood up for herself, for women, and for her people. And the Esther I want to focus on is the Esther that had to deal with the question that is the basis of my sermon today, which is, were you invited? Where are you going? When Mordecai says to Esther, I got to tell you, he sends her through a messenger. He says, this is what's going on. I'm giving you the very short version. Haman and Ahasuerus have conspired to destroy our people. The Jewish people are on the chopping block. And anyone with a sword or a knife or whatever weapon they want on such and such a day can go and slaughter the Jewish people. That was the gift to the 127 provinces. Just go destroy them. Whatever, we'll get rid of them. We'll have a bounty hunt. We'll get rid of the coyotes all at once. Just get out there and shoot. And once she finds out what's happening, she says, what do I do? Like, what? I'm the queen. I'm not the power. Mordecai says, you got to go to the king, and you got to say, I'm a Jewish girl. And if you kill my people, you're destroying me. That's all we got. Well, Esther answers and says, you know, it's a great idea, Mordecai, except there's a rule. And the rule is that if the king hasn't called you to his palace for 30 days, if the king hasn't called you to his palace for 30 days, you can't just show up. And if you show up without being called, achat dato lahamit, there is only one punishment, and that is death. And if I go, and the king does not find me favorable, I'm dead. And then she adds, and I will go to the king. I will go even though it is out of line. It is inappropriate. It does not follow the rules. And if he does not extend his golden scepter to me, which means you're welcome to come, v'chasher avadati avadati, I will die. And I will do that for my people. The greatness of Esther was that she understood the risk and she understood the reward. She didn't do it for herself. She had absolutely nothing to gain. She could have just stayed in her palace, lived her life, ignored the outside, whatever the fate of her people, whatever, maybe Mordecai would have been saved, who knows? But she said, V'chasher avadati avadati, and if I'm lost, I am lost. But I will do so for the sake of my people. And this is what I need to ask you. Have you been called recently to do something heroic? Is there something that you need to attend to that will save people? Is there something outside of your house that needs your particular involvement? Are you going to save someone? Are you stepping out so you can save your people? Is this your moment in which you are willing to sacrifice because you have a greater mission? So I need to ask you, right now, there's a limited lifting of the rules. It's limited. Doesn't matter what might happen. Right now, it's limited. So where are you going? And if you don't have to go? And how do you know if you don't have to go? Ask yourself, am I a hero? Am I on the front lines? Am I saving someone? Am I doing something for someone else? Do I have to do this? Esther felt she had to do it. But you know what Esther risked? Esther risked dying. And I know that it seems like it's going to pass. The weather is nice. Things are kind of open. Some things. I can assure you those who are worried about their rent and hungry are not golfing. I'm sure those who are in domestic abuse situations don't care that the weather is nice. I'm sure that those who have children at home that they can't handle don't get out very much. I'm sure that those who can't afford food are still hungry. And I need to ask you, if you're going to go out, could you perhaps make it a mission? Do something great. So when you go out, instead of giving charity in a box, go find a way to feed other people. Go find a way to take care of others who have lost everything they have. Go find a way to make sure that the homeless still have food. Make yourself a hero. Make yourself someone who has a reason to be out because you're taking a risk. So if you take a risk when you're out, but it's for a greater purpose, that's where we are now. Until now, we were don't come out, it doesn't matter what. Now it's come out if it's important. Well, make it important. It's not a time for frivolity. It's not a time for pleasure. It's a time for risking for the right reasons. It's a change. We're moving forward. But like Queen Esther, you haven't been called. Unless you're going back to work to feed your family. Unless you are doing something, you're going to take care of your parents, you're going on a mission of delivering food, and there's so many of them. I got an email this week about a fantastic initiative in which they're asking people to leave food at their doorsteps and let them know that there's food there, non-perishable items, they'll come pick them up. You don't even have to go out to help people. But the person who's picking up the food, they have to be out there. But that's right. And they have to ask themselves, am I willing to say, V'cha'asher avadati, avadati. And if I am lost, I'm lost. If I get sick, I get sick. And the way to mitigate that is to wear protective equipment as mandated by our health authorities. So when Mia Stancer sends you an email and says, can you leave food on your doorstep? Do it. Because you can be a hero right from home. You do not have to leave your home to be a hero. And you definitely need to ask yourself, have I been called somewhere? Have I been invited? Is there something drawing me? Because if not, still, stay home, stay safe. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of saving, there's a lot of heroism that can happen from your living room. I wish you all purpose, meaning. I wish you should all have a calling that draws you out of your home so you can save others. But please, and I know, and I'm speaking to you because we watch numbers. Don't give up on yourselves. Stay safe. Be a hero to others. Say no. That's heroic. And I wish you all a Yoma Tava, a good day. We want the Yoma Arichta, the long day, to end, and we want it to be a good day for all of us. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining me. It means the world to have you here with me today.